Right. I would like to see them basically target ban out the early game heroes, like something like a Tulin, for instance, to make sure that they can't get pushed in on Tulin or Dioma, for instance.
Okay,
like
so
a teammate. Okay, this is actually a trouble-like draft for Nova. Nova normally focus in on banning the overpowered characters. They focus in on banning the most powerful characters at the top of D2's tier list. And they can't do that now. They can't focus in on the enemy's draft because they have to ban out the top of D2's tier list.
Right, being on the second team to pick / ban makes it a little bit more difficult because the onus is on you to ban them out. I'm liking this ban phase here from Team Queso. They're targeting that Omen, targeting that Team E, 2 heroes that caused them a lot of problems last game.
So Team Queso get the target draft this time, and it forces Nova to get rid of those S-tier characters. They'll remove the Annette, they'll remove the Elsu, they'll remove the Florentino. None of it's targeted, except for maybe that Annette towards Memorized.
I think this first pick is really going to tell us a lot about what direction Team Queso... No, never mind, it's not, because it's Sephra. I forgot about that.
Yep, Sephra was led through the draft, and that means it's a lock-in instantly. Team Queso say thank you very much. We'll take one of the most powerful mages in the game. And Nova say let's get the Zenial away from her.
Right, and we talked about this last draft, but you do not want them to be immortal. You do not want to give them Sephra plus Zenial or Teamy plus Zenial because that makes it hard to kill them.
Yep, Liliana through as well for Nova to give them that mid lane mate potentially. In answer to the Sephra, it'll be the Telenas for side lane. Team Queso want that late game comp again from the looks of things.
Right, it's basically identical to last draft except for the Sephra in place of the column. Right.
And that secondary support almost, you've hypothesized, is very powerful.
Right, they will have less poke though. Kali is the poke master, but Sephra certainly is above her in power for a reason.
Why are we seeing Ibanez join Nova's roster?
I'm actually a bit perplexed by this one because Baldum is a little bit of soft counter to Yevnev. He's just useful in general. I suppose Nova thinks he's just good in general. I think that's what they're going for here.
I have a follow-up question for you, Daniel. Why'd they pick Superman into Ibanez?
To pop out the Violet?
Sure, but the Yevnev is like the obvious answer to a Superman, so I really don't agree with that draft from Team Queso. Had it happened in the opposite order, I would have said the Yevnev was brought through despite the potential of the Baldum to counter him because it shuts down the Superman, but they've actually gone the opposite way around, so I don't know what Nova were thinking, but it's worked out.
It's kind of from both sides, isn't it? It feels like, oh, that would have been picked to counter the one that came after it a couple of times there.
We see this sometimes even with the best teams in the world. We saw it with AHQ at the finals, and when you start getting towards the end of a draft, sometimes you just have to go with comfort picks for some of your players. And I don't want to rail on Yavix here, but that's probably he just feels comfortable on Superman.
Maybe. He is an accomplished Superman player. What changes for Team Queso this draft round?
Well, they're able to get the Zephys, and that allows Ibuchichi to play a little bit more aggressively. He hasn't, unfortunately, had more success on the Zephys per se, but perhaps he can get in on the backline of Vex a little bit easier than he was able to with the Wonder Woman.
It gives them, they still have that front line. They still have Zephyr's, Baldum, and the Sephra to kind of hang out up front, take damage. The Sephra with her ultimate Tides of Life, you can hear that a lot, does give the ability to go invulnerable and AoE heal the team. That's very powerful, as you say, a secondary support almost, and she does a lot of damage.
Takes a while to get up to that damage though. I think it'll be a little bit weaker than the Kali at first, and it'll put more pressure on the damage to come in from the Telenos. They really have to go for the bend but not break strategy once more here, I feel.
They
bend but not break strategy. We haven't said ADC meta enough tonight. We're talking about different strategies now. All right, Queso, look to even this series against Nova. Can they do it? TJ and D2 will help us find out.
I think a lot of it rests on Yavix, which I didn't really want to highlight too much of because it's the Superman pick I disagreed with, but he may be the answer.
I'm looking at Memorize here to make things happen on the Baldum. We saw it last game, and oh, like that.
The wild charge, Grizzly Q having a wild time. He'll be able to get out.
Grizzly Q trying to heal up by going into the bushes, but he's already used that passive. He'll use it now.
We talk a whole bunch about the potential. We talk a whole bunch about the potential of Memorized on the Baldum to counter out the Yabaneth. The reason for that, of course, is because of this wild prison.
Right, the wild prison, it's... Even if someone is immune to stuns, that doesn't mean that they can't go underground in that wild prison. So once he starts popping that Nature's Realm, you just send them right on under and continue on your merry way.
And I don't think there are any other abilities that can interrupt the Yabaneth ultimate Nature's Realm.
I think Snare.
Oh, you're right.
Right.
Yeah.
There are certain abilities that overdo CC
Autumn's
immunity.
ultimate.
Right.
Vex is in trouble, though, this early game, and that is something different, and we highlighted Yavex's potential reason for that. He's doing it so far. Memorized, charges forward again. Coco's in a lot of trouble as the Death Flurry from Ibuchichi predictably pays off. Yavex able to secure the kill. In the meantime, Vex does double down, picking up that Might Golem, meaning that Nova lose a player, but they don't lose farm.
Poseidon says, you guys haven't been talking about me very much. Let's get a big chunk on the opposing team with the Shining Light, Blinding Light combo.
And it works out. Big damage out from it.
I think I'm starting to see the reason for the Superman pick here, because between the Wild Charge and Superman's pushback, you just get ping-ponged all around the map, and that is an easy way to pick up kills.
And that is a fun duo we've seen plenty of from other characters. We've seen ping-pong combos before, Thane, Yabaneth, Superman. That lot are typically used for it. Why haven't we seen Baldum used for his bug, his repositioning?
Well, Baldum has just recently been buffed, and so now players are starting to get used to him, starting to get used to his playstyle. We're a little bit reluctant to pick him in official matches like this, but now Team Queso seems fully confident.
So, just adapting to the meta, as it were. Simjo in this bot lane has some adapting to do as well. He benefits from the meta, in theory, so long as he can farm up this Telenas to maximum.
Right, and look at the situation right now. Nova hasn't gotten a massive lead, not like the one they had last game, so this bodes well for Team Queso if they can keep this up.
Yeah, you said they had to win the early game. Nova so far have not. Wild Stomp will be spent by Memorized as he has to escape from the Stomping Abyssal Dragon as well, but Nova are unable to find the kill.
Right, they don't have the aggressive heroes that they had last game like that Tula. They do have Oxy on the Neoma, which is a very much an early game.
They don't check the bush!
Ooh.
Now they do! Ibuchichi pops out and the Abyssal Dragon will be reset because of it. Team Queso know that Nova are on the run now and they've got time to spare.
No harm nor foul in that situation, I suppose, but Ibuchichi, a little bit sneaky. Maybe he can pop someone for his team.
A little bit of lackluster communication, I guess, from Nova. They really should have checked that bush. And now they may pay for it, as Team Queso definitely have an inkling that they want this Abyssal Dragon.
The funny thing is, a lot of times you slide the screen over to see what's going on in the other screen, and don't see the person right next to you in the bush.
Yeah, I think Poseidon did wander into the bush, but didn't seem to recognize what he found there.
He was looking down below at the other members. Oh, hello.
Ruiz will say, oh, hello, to Vex and mid, scaring him back a bit, but again, it's just the range advantage of that water ball. Could that be a potential counter to Violet?
I think that Violet's a little bit of a better counter to Sephira because of her tactical fire. You can chunk her down and force her to use Tide of Life. So I would say that goes into Violet's favor, but it will be a poke war all game long.
Poke from all sides, although Team Queso do have a better sustained engagement once Simjo gets online.
We're able to keep them through that. Ooh, hello.
Wild Prison! That's just rude! The Nature's Realm's cancelled. This Abyssal Dragon's up for grabs. Oxy does get it. Now the Angelic Splendor through. Yavex can't end the fight. He does get Oxy low. Coco will need to back up as the Tides of Life enable Ruiz to charge forward. Yavex is in. He's got a kill. That's Oxy and Coco both down as Team Queso win the first major team fight.
Team Queso just staying alive so long with that Tide of Life, and Noah making things so difficult on their end as well. But I want to take a look at this for a moment here. Oxy being able to snipe out that dragon means they still have the gold lead.
And it means that Oxy and the rest of Nova Esports can afford to play a little bit more careful, focused on their gold for now. We've seen this sorry tale before.
Said, Team Queso doing a great job this game of pushing it onto Nova Esports. They're able to take down one tower there, so this game is looking very even at the moment, TJ.
But Team Queso do get the tower advantage, like you were talking about. Team Queso do have the map control advantage for now. Surely it's leaning in their direction, given that you said Team Queso just needed to last till late game.
Right, they don't have the massive late game advantage like they did last game, which is part of the reason why they're staying in it so far, but looking decent for them.
They've got Cloud Sancti finished on Simjo as well, which should mean he's going to start to do damage. So watch out for the Telenos being prone to Baron fights like this as Ruiz needs to save the rest of his team from Grizzly Q. That will be a Nature's Realm out, and Simjo doesn't care. Expends the Eagle Eye and chunks him down from range.
Doesn't even care about the Nature's Realm coming out there and just gets so much damage out, but Queso.
In a lot of trouble. He'll try an Angelic Splendor, and it does not pay off. The Tides of Life are there for a big chunk of damage, and Yavex is there to scoop him out. He will be slain.
Simjo, can he hold on to this bottom lane, though?
I'm not sure he can at all as he's surrounded. Oxy gets knocked low, but Simjo cannot survive 1v4.
He's going to take this opportunity to do a little bit of farming, but this game is certainly back and forth.
Who won that trade?
Well, if you look at the gold Nova did, and they get a tower as well. Looks like they're going to get a tower up top, speaking of Team Queso. So somewhat even. The gold, just objectively speaking, goes to Nova, though.
Do you think that matters in the long run?
It could. If they're able to snowball that into a massive advantage like they did in game 1, that could be pretty massive here.
So we're just watching for the snowball then. Team Queso trying to hold on. It is the dead of winter though, and I think Nova are looking downhill.
Well, I'm not sure if they're able to hold on against something like Simjo. The funny thing is, Oxy is taking this for free. I was not expecting this. Apologies for that.
Yeah, completely free tower up top. It'll be scooped up. Team Queso to find a response in mid lane though, which is arguably more valuable because the map control it unlocks.
Right, everything is gearing towards this Dark Slayer. Both teams have taken towers on that side, but Team Queso have taken 2, so they have that map advantage to them. I'm looking for both teams to start focusing on towers now. They both have heroes in Violet and Telenos that can take them out without even having a minion wave being there.
And we've seen that come into play for that mid lane and top lane tower here, which means we'll probably see it for the rest of the game as well whenever the two teams opted not to go for a direct confrontation, but instead split across the map.
Right, and that makes it so that if they lose in an objective like the Dark Slayer, it makes it that much harder to deal with because the other team can just take down towers with ease.
And I do feel that those split pressures favor Team Queso because it lets them get away with things that undo their gold lead, like this Abyssal Dragon pickup.
They do get the Abyssal Dragon, but it is pre-enraged. This is one of the least impactful Abyssals that you can take, and you can see in their gold amount right now.
It helps, though. Every little bit. They're back on par with Nova Esports, which is definitely a strong point in their favor, given that you were saying Team Queso do have the strength in the late game, if only narrowly.
The thing is, I think they really want to get the late game as quickly as possible because you can see them walking on as a trio, Memorize, Simjo, and Ruiz. That means they're losing some of the macro game here.
Their macro not suffering now, though, as they concentrate in. They want to fight versus Nova.
A couple of missed shots there from both Ibuchichi and Memorize. Oops.
Just poke. That's all it's there for. And if you land every little bit of poke, people get sore. Yavex will need to bail out from the bottom lane. There's that split pressure we were talking about, and two characters that both can rejoin a fight pretty quickly.
Yeah, Coco a little bit faster, though, if he can get there with his Angelic Splendor and Spilling Bullet.
Team Queso, speaking of speed, does pop that Ring of the Fiend. The entire team comes through. It's a punish, a pinch onto Oxy. We were talking about poke, but pinches were the real deal as he runs for his life, and he'll actually manage to stay alive for a really long time. The rest of Nova Esports have come through and now make this a real fight. Oxy's pinned up and Memorized is stalling out Grizzly Q. Oxy will be saved by Coco with the Angelic Splendor coming through, and he's now challenging the backline while the tower falls in mid. This is fallen completely out of control as Team Queso need to back up behind what remains of their towers. They get Oxy low. Ruiz is here as well. Maybe this can turn it.
Can Yavex go in there? I don't think he can.
I don't think he can either. He's bullied back. Memorized will go in with Wild Charge. They've got the Wall of Water and they've got the stun from it. Coco is forced back. Grizzly Q scooped as well, but these are the highest HP members of the team. They can stand and brawl all day. Poseidon a little bit less so. There's the flicker. The Tides of Life not quite enough to finish things off. This Poseidon sliver by a sliver of HP will survive. Ruiz will fall. Yavex can't find any of these kills. Vex walks away with a double to his name, and Nova survive. 5 players alive that fight.
I feel like I've just watched a tragedy of players as they stayed alive with 1 health. What happened, Team Queso? Oh, that was such a sad situation for them.
Shakespeare's finest work yet. Nova do leverage this for an enraged Abyssal Dragon take, which Ibuchichi knows about and can't do anything to stop.
And that whole fiasco started with the entire team chasing Oxy, and yet they got 2 kills, a tower, and an Abyssal Dragon out of it.
Yeah, that's kind of disastrous. I'm not sure how Team Queso didn't realize that that was what was going to happen when they chased Oxy for that long.
I think they tried to cut them off, but Nova just had the superior rotations, the superior positioning in that fight. They knew exactly how to handle it. Ring of the Fiend from Grizzly Q.
He'll pop it. Group the entire team down towards the bottom lane. Nova now the team to pinch. You were talking about micro distractions. This is an example. Anoxy is being a persistent one in the side lane.
This is turning into a macro distraction at the moment here as Team Queso is falling a little bit apart at the moment.
We call this a mega distraction in America. Memorized will charge forward, slowing down Oxy. They hold the tower.
Look at this from Vex, though.
But Vex arrives and says, what? Sorry, you were holding what?
This is what I was talking about. When one of these teams get an objective, it's so easy to take down towers.
And Vex is here. Taxation without representation, perhaps, but the collection is due. He'll take 2 towers in moments.
You're not going to ban Violet from Vex, but maybe you should.
Maybe. Simjo will clear wave and mid, but it's only high grounds remaining for Team Queso.
And with only high grounds remaining, Vex can just stand here and fight the entire time. He has that Dark Blessing to his name, so you can't even really kill him.
And I'm not sure what Team Queso can do to get out on top. Is this just wave clear and hope?
It's wave clear until you get into a good position with positioning and your gold situation, but Memorize is getting chunked so hard right now.
Wave clear and bank. Oh, and hope that Vex doesn't arrive. There's the Wild Prison, spent for no avail. They do slow down wave, and Ibuchichi goes in for the clear with the depth from above. He's got it.
No.
Memorized in trouble. The flicker, it's perfect. He's almost down. He will not survive as Oxy goes through alongside Vex for the major damage. Yavex tries to slow things down, but they've also forced the tides of life from Ruiz.
A little bit of a mistake there from Memorize, trying to get a little bit aggressive. They already had the wave clear, tried to go in, couldn't get it done.
And now there's only 4 players left to hold, and Vex reminds them exactly why that's bad as Grizzly Q slows down the fight again. The tower in mid will fall. Simjo forced even further back into their base.
Oh, he nearly got that kill. The AoE damage coming from Poseidon, Vex, and Oxy is devastating. And this game went from close to looking like it's over.
Ruiz does have damage out from the wall of water. Ibuchichi will dive in, though. Poseidon, that's a 1-1 trade they'll take any day as the wall of water comes through. This actually makes it very interesting as Ruiz with the tides of life can trade even more positively. And Yavex, he's dove in. There's another kill to Ruiz. Just as you say it's over, Team Queso strike back.
I do my best work against Nova. TJ, the curse is on as Team Queso gets the ace somehow right when things seemed horrible. Now they're pushing
Could this be game? They don't have wave, but they can take the tower with the Talanas. 13 seconds left.
I don't think they can win the game, but they can take this tower, which would help immensely.
If they get a high ground, the game is basically on par. Here come the first respawns. Poseidon is here. Do Team Queso dare?
Perhaps they can push onto the core and kill Poseidon here, but that's very risky.
Oh, they dare. They're continuing to push forward. They don't land. Simjo! That's a lot of damage. Now the dive comes through. Tides of life, Memorized to Ruiz. Oh, what a bail. And they've got the Ring of the Fiend to do so.
Huge risk coming out from Team Queso, but Ibuchichi was back clearing waves. I'm not sure if that was the best decision to go for. If he was going to stay back, they probably should have gone for the Dark Slayer. Now that's up for grabs.
Memorized continuing to linger a little bit longer just for the stall. Dark Slayer, like you say, up for grabs, and Nova do want it.
Nova's only up a little bit of gold here. I think Team Queso can contest this.
They've got the wave clear to do so. Only one player lingering behind, that's Yavex, and he can rejoin them in an instant should he spot an opportunity. That knowledge is enough to force Team Queso to back off.
Right, but Coco in the vicinity, making sure that those waves are going to the core.
Blade of Eternity picked up on Vex. Keep your eye on that. He'll be back in the fight once after he dies.
Right, the number of Blade of Eternities is huge in this fight. Those extra lives are going to be massive if they can get off.
Simjo will do a lot of chunk. Actually, Poseidon very low. Oh, but he's picked up. Vex finds an opening kill. No Blade of Eternity available for him. Tides of Black might find revenge. Yavex, though, will be the second to fall. Coco gets off the Angelic Splendor. This could be game for Team Queso, as they're suddenly in trouble. Oxy goes through with the Wailing Blade. Memorized is stalled out. He too will fall. Ibuchichi just needs to flee, and Team Queso's dreams have been shattered unless Ibuchichi can make the impossible happen, and he's wailed back. This should be Nova's game.
Looks like they're on the core already, and that should be it.
Game number 2, a closely contested one, but as Grizzly Q tanks the core, it will be Vex to pick it up, and Nova to win the series 2-0.
Team Queso nearly with a hint of a comeback there, got the ace, but a poor team fight in the end cost them, and they